Before we get into today's show about some potential Daniel Jones replacements if he leaves an NFL free agency, I just want to say I trust this man. I trust him with my life. I absolutely trust him to get it right this offseason with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. So let's do this, Giants fans. If you trust Joe Schoen to make the right moves this offseason for Big Blue, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like this video. You are watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. In today's show, we're going to take a look at 13 potential, keyword potential, Daniel Jones replacements if he and the New York Football Giants cannot come to an agreement on a long-term extension. I think the Giants will re-sign. That's what Jordan Renan of ESPN had to say. I think Daniel Jones will be back. But my job is to create content for you guys. And I wanted to look at today's show as an idea of if Daniel Jones is gone, maybe some guys that could come in and be the next quarterback for Big Blue. This all starts because there was a report that came out over the weekend that Daniel Jones wants $45 million per year on his next contract. Left the CAA agency, went over to Athletes First. Was it CAA that put that out there to make Daniel Jones look bad, or is it just because that's what he wants? I think $45 million is too much. My number is $30 million. I go up to 32. That's what the franchise tag for the quarterback is this year, $32.4 million, I believe, maybe 0.1, one of those numbers. But look, when you look at the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks in the National Football League, I just don't think Daniel Jones deserves to be in this class. I don't think he's better than Aaron Rodgers. I think Russell Wilson was a miss by the Denver Broncos. Kyler Murray has been severely overpaid by the Cardinals. Deshaun Watson, he didn't play that good last year. And if Patrick Mahomes, yes, Patrick Mahomes is asking for $45 million, Daniel Jones should never. Josh Allen, he deserves it. Derek Carr got paid $40.5, but he just got cut. Dak Prescott, he makes $40 million. A team and a player that Daniel Jones has never beat. Matt Stafford just won you a Super Bowl, and Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, is a better thrower of the football, but I think Daniel Jones might just be as good, maybe a tick below. So I think anywhere from $30 to $32 million is fair. I'd go as high as 35, but that is my absolute ceiling. So let's say the Giants have to move on from Daniel Jones. Some other team pays him that $45 million. Replacement number one is somebody that's already on this roster. That's Tyrod Taylor. Taylor is under contract next season for the New York Football Giants at $5.4 million. And look, it's not the sexy move. I'm going to be honest with you. But I think he's an adequate player that would be a bridge quarterback. If Daniel Jones leaves, there's going to be a reset on this offense. No doubt about it. So you have Tyrod Taylor as the number one replacement. But the Giants really have three options to find a DJ replacement. In the draft, a trade, or free agency. And we're going to show you some draft guys that I think the Giants could look at, some trade people I think the Giants could look at, and then free agency options. We got 12 more players to get to, but first, I want you guys to get engaged with the show today. Sound off in the comment section for me. Name a quarterback you want the Giants to replace Daniel Jones with. Remember, this is if they and he do not come to a long-term agreement. It's going to be the pinned comment underneath the video. So when you get hit with that YouTube ad break, just scroll on down and let me know a quarterback you want the Giants to replace DJ with. Let's start with the NFL draft. And I really think there's only two options where the Giants could go. I think Anthony Richardson is an option. And the reason I don't have Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or Will Levis on this list because I don't think the Giants can move up far enough in the draft to get one of these guys. Richardson, he was just mocked by CBS to be the number one pick. But if he's around, pick 11, pick 12, and you don't have Daniel Jones on the roster, maybe a move up. I also like Hendon Hooker at Tennessee. There's reports coming out that the Giants have done extensive research on Hooker, met with him at the Senior Bowl. I like Hooker a lot. My only thing is he's coming off a torn ACL, and he's 25 years old, but I would rock the hell out of a Giants jersey that said Hooker on the back. When you look at the Giants draft picks in total for the 2023 draft, as it stands right now, they have 9 total picks, but they are expected to get 2 comp picks, one from the Evan Ingram deal and one other one from last year's free agency cycle. You got to pick 25. I think the highest you could move up is to pick 10, maybe 11, maybe 12 with the Houston Texans. You got 2 third-round picks, and you got 2 seventh-round picks. Maybe you package this year's first, next year's first, and a third-round pick to get up into a spot where you want to draft Richardson. I think Hendon Hooker is a second-round quarterback, maybe third-round quarterback. When you take a look at these two guys and what they did in the SEC last year, I think Hooker had a better statistical season, but Richardson is a guy that has the strongest arm in the draft. He is the strongest quarterback. He is arguably maybe the fastest quarterback. He's the best running quarterback in the draft. You don't really ever see a guy that could throw the ball 90 yards from his knees, and every time he decides to tuck and run it, he could take it to the house. That's why he had 26 total touchdowns, 654 rushing yards. Well, Hooker is a much more established passer. He's someone that is just much more of a quarterback. 69% completion rate, only 2 interceptions, 32 total touchdowns, and he can tuck and run it just like Richardson, just not a violent runner like him. He had 430 yards. The draft is a tricky route, though, no doubt about it. You never know what you're going to get in the draft, especially at the quarterback spot. And if you are going to draft a quarterback to replace Daniel Jones, you are thinking long-term. You're not thinking this year to win. And I want that to be something that you think about, Giants fans. You don't want to make a mistake in the short term to be better in the short term and not, factor in the long term. And I think that's what an expensive contract for Daniel Jones is. I want to make it clear. I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. I think he'll be back, but I'm not paying him $45 million. The draft, it's a crapshoot. Maybe you get a good guy, maybe you don't. You never know what's going to happen in the NFL draft. We're going to get some trade targets and free agency targets coming up in a second, but make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, youtube.com/NYGiantsTV. Here at Chat Sports, we put out videos every single day on the latest Giants news and rumors. When any more information comes out about Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley, we're going to get you guys a video as soon as possible. And when and if either resides, we're going to be going live on the channel. We're getting closer and closer to 25,000 subs. Help us get there. Hit that sub button. Become one of us. Some trade people and trade targets that I think the Giants could look at if they have decided we're not going to bring Jones back and we're going to go to the trade market. I think the number one option is Justin Fields. We'll show some stats in a second, but if the Bears decide that Fields is not the guy, they want to draft Stroud, Young, or Levis at pick number 1, they're going to trade Justin Fields. And I think you can get Fields for that pick number 25 in the first round. Jordan Love, if they bring back Rodgers, Love is going to request a trade. What about Trey Lance of the San Francisco 49ers? Former top 10 pick. They have Brock Purdy now, so it didn't really work out. He's had some injuries. What about Aaron Rodgers? Don't think it's all that likely. Just with Lamar Jackson, I don't think that is that likely. Honestly, the most likely guy on this list is Justin Fields, and let's talk about him. This past year in 15 games played for the Chicago Bears, he was explosive, no doubt about it. But I do have a little bit of, I would say, cause for concern for Justin Fields. Only 60% completion percentage, 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, and a QB rating of 85. But it's not just what he can do with his arm. It's more so what he can do with his legs and the explosiveness he brings there. If there was a quarterback that Brian Daboll would love to have, I do think it is Justin Fields. And I think Daboll could fix Justin Fields, because when you are a quarterback that can run for 1,100 yards, 7 yards per pop, 8 touchdowns, you're a game changer, and it's something that defensive coordinators are going to stay up at night thinking about. But I am going to be honest here. I'm not the biggest fan of Justin Fields. I think to be an elite quarterback in this league, you have to win from within the pocket. On 3rd and 8, are you going to be able to pick up a first down with your arm? You can have a good steak without gravy, and gravy is the rushing ability. It's the ability to create plays outside the pocket. But I can have a good steak without gravy, and the steak is being able to win within the pocket. A little analogy there with good old Marshy, but I think it makes sense. I think if you can win from the pocket, you can be good. All the other stuff is just gravy on top. Fields is talented. I think he has a lot of room and a lot of potential. I am a little bit concerned about how well of a thrower he actually is. Should the Giants trade for Justin Fields? I think it would cost you your first-round pick. I think if the Bears traded Justin Fields and they took a quarterback with pick number 1, I think they would take number 25 in the 2023 NFL Draft. So Giants fans, sound off for me. If you don't have Daniel Jones back next year, should you trade for Justin Fields? Why for yes and for no? Let me know what you think down in the comments section. We've talked draft And we've talked trades. Let's talk free agency. The top 5 guys are really not that good. You got Sam Darnold, Derek Carr, who was just cut by the Las Vegas Raiders, Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Geno Smith. I think Geno is going back to the Seattle Seahawks, and I think he should make more money than Daniel Jones because he beat Daniel Jones last year. I wouldn't mind 1 year with Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm kind of concerned about his durability and his injury history. If you have a 1-year deal for Jimmy as a bridge quarterback, maybe you draft Hendon Hooker in round 2, let him recover from that ACL, I think that's a possibility. But I want to take a closer look at Sam Darnold, Derek Carr, and Jacoby Brissett because those are the guys that played the most last year. In 6 games, Darnold last year, he was okay, right? I mean, 58% completion percentage, that's pretty bad. Only 1,100 yards, but threw for 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Won some games for the Panthers down the stretch. I was impressed, though, with Jacoby Brissett. In the 11 games he played in the spot of Deshaun Watson, he completed 64% of his passes, 12 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, and he threw for 2,600 yards. Derek Carr, he'll be the most expensive free agent quarterback if you take out Lamar Jackson and Daniel Jones. Carr's good. He's not great. I don't know if he's better than Daniel Jones, but he's accomplished, and he's done a lot in this league. 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, been to the playoffs a couple times, was a top 5 MVP candidate. But I'm not interested in Derek Carr. I believe you either sign a bridge quarterback, you draft a quarterback, or you go all in on a trade. So we've showed you some trade targets, we've showed you some free agent targets, and we've showed you some draft targets. So I want to ask this question now. How to replace Daniel Jones if, remember, this is if, they can't come to a long-term deal. Should they trade for a guy? Should they sign a guy or draft a guy? Type T for trade, type F for free agency, or D for draft. Look, none of these options are great. I know that. But you know what's also not going to be great? Paying Daniel Jones $38, $39 million per year, and he takes a step back next year. I don't think that would happen, but it's definitely a possibility. Look, Daniel Jones, I think, is maybe the 14th to 17th best quarterback in the NFL. Why do we have to pay him top 7 money? The math ain't mathing. It doesn't make sense to me. I like Daniel Jones, but he shouldn't be able to hold us at gunpoint because we need him. You are what the market is willing, you are worth what the market is willing to pay. And I believe no other franchise in the NFL would pay Daniel Jones a dime over $30 million. That's just my take. Maybe I would be wrong. But look, Daniel Jones leaving would be a reset. I understand that. You'd have to get a new quarterback. I think if Daniel Jones goes, you either tag or trade Barkley or you let him walk. I'd tag him, trade him. And rebuild at that quarterback and running back position. The Giants overachieved last year for what their roster was. I'm the biggest Giants fan there is. They did not have a top 15 roster in the NFL, and they were a top 10 team. That comes down to coaching. I believe Brian Daboll could get his pick of the litter at quarterback and get the absolute most out of him, just like he did with Daniel Jones this past year. I think DJ is going to be back, but I wanted to talk about some potential replacements in today's show. I appreciate everybody tuning in to today's show. Another way you can stay up to date on the latest Giants news and rumors is over on my Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm tweeting about the Giants all day, every day. I'm down to chop it up with some Big Blue fans. So give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_.